Disclaimer: this video is a work of fictional alternative history. The events, companies, products, and individuals referenced here are based on speculative scenarios and do not reflect actual historical or future developments. This content is purely for entertainment and creative purposes, providing an imagined narrative of what might have happened in a different timeline. Any resemblance to real persons, living or deceased, and actual events is entirely coincidental. Please remember, the concepts presented in this video are fictional and not endorsed or confirmed by the companies or people mentioned. Now let's go Nintendo PLS. Don't take this down in this alternative timeline. The acquisition of Nintendo by the North Korean government leads to a dramatic shift in the company's operations and development. Here's how this might unfold. 2075. Acquisition and immediate impact. Early 2075, the North Korean government acquires Nintendo in a surprising move, claiming the company's assets, intellectual properties, and all current development projects. Mid-2075, under strict orders, all Nintendo employees are relocated to government-controlled development camps, where they are subjected to rigorous oversight and limited personal freedoms. Late 2075, the North Korean government seizes and dismantles ongoing game development projects to investigate the underlying technology, storylines, and elements deemed unaligned with state ideologies. The priority is on understanding Nintendo's hardware and software to potentially repurpose or censor for the regime's use. 2076 to 2077, Breakdown and Reconstruction. 2076, that dismantling of Nintendo's game library is complete, with government officials reviewing all characters, narratives, and gameplay mechanics for ideological inconsistencies or Western influence. High-profile games like Super Mario, Zelda, and Metroid are banned from any public or private use outside the government due to their focus on personal agency, exploration, and fantasy. 2077, North Korean developers are ordered to re-engineer certain game concepts to promote state-driven narratives. For instance, Mario's adventures might be reimagined to portray a hero serving the state or fighting against Western influence. These altered games, designed under harsh conditions, are meant solely for government use or propaganda. 2078 to 2080, shift to domestic use and propaganda. 2078, the North Korean government rebrands Nintendo as a state-sponsored entertainment company, with the focus on creating morally acceptable games that align with state ideology. Titles begin development, featuring themes of loyalty, collectivism, and devotion to the state. 2079 to 2080, the altered Nintendo games are selectively released to the North Korean public as part of the government's propaganda efforts. These games are distributed through restricted channels, with highly controlled content intended to shape cultural views in alignment with the regime. 2081 onwards, isolation and end of the original Nintendo legacy. 2081, the Nintendo name is fully absorbed into the North Korean state media apparatus. The company's original identity, along with its global fanbase, ceases to exist as the games are either heavily modified or erased. 2082 and beyond, the international gaming community mourns the loss of Nintendo's legacy, while efforts are made to preserve the original game libraries and histories in other countries. However, due to the isolated nature of North Korea, few details emerge regarding Nintendo's current status under government control. This timeline portrays the end of Nintendo as a creative force in global gaming, transformed into a tool for political and ideological control under the North Korean regime. 2100 to 2107, escalation and preparation for conflict. 2100, the North Korean government continues to use the rebranded Nintendo as a tool for propaganda, producing games strictly controlled by the state that reinforce ideologies of loyalty and nationalism. 2102, international tensions rise as more reports emerge about the harsh conditions in North Korean development camps and the suppression of the original Nintendo culture. Governments and NGOs worldwide condemn the use of Nintendo for propaganda, sparking debates about intervention. 2105, U.S. intelligence agencies gather extensive information about the state-controlled Nintendo and the severe conditions for former Nintendo employees. Public outcry increases, with calls for intervention. 2107, after years of mounting tension, the U.S. government formally announces a plan to liberate North Korea, citing humanitarian concerns and the desire to restore cultural entities like Nintendo to their former selves. 2108, liberation of North Korea and recovery of Nintendo. Early 2108, the U.S. military launches a large-scale operation in North Korea. Within months, they secure the region containing former Nintendo facilities and development camps. Mid-2108, after liberating key areas, U.S. forces locate hundreds of former Nintendo employees and developers who had been detained or forced into propaganda production. Many are in poor health, but some are overjoyed at the prospect of being freed. Late 2108, the U.S. establishes a transitional government in North Korea, dedicated to restoring cultural artifacts and institutions that had been suppressed, including Nintendo. Efforts begin to identify, preserve, and recover any remnants of original Nintendo projects. 2109 to 2110, reconstruction and revival of Nintendo. 2109, with support from the U.S. and international companies, Nintendo is rebuilt in a new facility in Japan. Surviving former employees and new recruits join efforts to restore Nintendo's legacy. Some are tasked with recreating classic games that had been altered or erased during the North Korean regime. 2110, Nintendo is officially reintroduced to the world under its original branding and philosophy, with a mission to bring smiles to faces as it once did. Global fans celebrate the return of a beloved cultural icon, and plans for new game releases honoring Nintendo's history are announced. 2111 to 2115, restoration of game libraries and intellectual properties. 2111, Nintendo recovers its original intellectual properties with the assistance of international copyright agencies and technology companies. Extensive archives and backups are created to preserve the company's history. 2112, Nintendo re-releases classic games that had been banned or destroyed, such as Super Mario, Zelda, and Metroid, ensuring the authentic experiences are available worldwide. These games become symbols of cultural resilience and creative freedom. 2115, Nintendo's comeback is fully realized as the company introduces new IPs and franchises that blend classic Nintendo gameplay with modern technological innovations. 2120, Nintendo as a global symbol of cultural preservation. 2120, Nintendo is celebrated as a symbol of cultural preservation, creativity, and resilience. The company invests in initiatives to protect and preserve other cultural icons worldwide, becoming a major voice in global entertainment. 40.